Great question. I'm not a lawyer, but from everything I've seen, that's pretty unlikely. It generally is not done to be able to appeal a trial date, but I think it's sort of immaterial to Donald Trump in his campaign. What he wants to make clear is that he is fighting every single aspect of all the cases against him. He is not going to willingly take anything that the justice system, either federal courts or state courts, throw at him, and that includes setting a date for the trial.
How will the March trial affect Donald Trump's preparations, given it will take place the day before Super Tuesday?
Right. So Super Tuesday, as your viewers may know, is a major event in the political primaries. That's where more than a dozen states decide of each political party whether they're going to, or which of the candidates they're going to endorse. And obviously, Donald Trump has a major lead over all the other candidates right now. But still, it is a major day for him that he would, or most candidates would want to be out and about and campaigning for. But, I think there are some on his campaign who would admit that it actually isn't all that terrible of an outcome for him, because it will keep him in the headlines, which is something that he has done exceptionally well amidst all these trials.
And that will be quite for some time during the campaign, because it's not just one trial he'll have to face during this time, but possibly at least three. When will these and a fourth one take place?
Right. So there are a number of trials. As you said, altogether there are four trials he's looking at. He's looking at a trial in the state of New York, a trial in the state of Georgia, and then two federal trials. So the date of March 4th is one of those two federal trials, and that is around what happened on January 6th. And those are the issues at hand. There are what he did to basically stop the democratic process from occurring there. Now, so that is March 4th. You have other trial dates include the 25th of March, which is the New York trial about falsifying business records and paying hush money payments to a porn star. And then you have the 20th of May, the classified information documents that he kept at Mar-a-Lago. That's the other federal trial. These are a number of things. But again, I can't emphasize enough that as much as your conventional political candidate would be horrified by these sorts of trials and these dates in the middle of campaign season, in many ways, this is something that the Trump campaign is all too happy to show as evidence of him being persecuted by in their view, a politicized justice system.
But what happens if he is actually convicted? Will this derail his chances of progressing in the race to the White House?
Well, if he is convicted, we saw in the Republican debate just last week that out of those 8 leading candidates, 6 of them would still endorse him for president as the GOP nominee. And so at least among publicly amongst the Republican elite, he may not lose all that much support. Now, I think you can also look at the grassroots in the Republican Party and see that he has a commanding lead, as mentioned already, about his significant lead over anyone else in the Republican candidacy right now for president. The question, however, is whether all of this translates to a general election win, as we saw in 2020, and then as we saw in the midterms in 2022. We saw that his candidacy, him being a candidate, and then the candidates that he endorses often don't translate well to a general election. And what's worrying for him in his campaign is the fact that AP recently came out with a poll that said that 53% of Americans said they would definitely not vote for President Trump, while only 41% said they would definitely not vote for Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden famously says, "Don't compare me to the Lord Almighty, compare me to the other guy." And if you compare him to the other guy, that's got to look pretty good for Joe Biden and his campaign.
Well, as you say, also, Donald Trump supporters think that it's not such a bad thing that Donald Trump is in the spotlight. But what about his Republican rivals? How do they see this?
Well, in public, they talk about the fact that in their view, the justice system is politicized, that this is the number one political enemy of Donald Trump, persecuting him and trying to prevent him from fighting him or going against him, contesting him in the 2024 election. But privately, I think the candidates will say a pretty different tune. And they'll talk about how they hate how he consumes every single media cycle, that the day after they had their debates. And you could say Ramaswamy, for instance, had a sort of breakout performance and became a more well-known name across the country. The very next day at prime time, Donald Trump was going to Georgia and getting his mugshot taken. And the entire Republican debate the day before was wiped away from the news cycle. And it's just time and time again, Donald Trump, regardless of your political view, you have to admit, is exceptionally talented at taking over the limelight. And he once again does it with all of these cases.
How that impacts his chances of winning the Republican nomination, we will wait and see, I guess. Jared Mondschein, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.